we'll start this with you. Do you support having an elected school board, and why?
Yes. So I actually drafted something for that. Our current school system not only requires an elected school board, but it demands it. Our school system has had significant issues maintaining accreditation. Enrollment has created a loss of approximately $1 million a year in revenue we could have got had we had those students enrolled in our school system. We have about 150 students that opt out now each year, when it used to be marginally about 10 and 20. These now, it's gotten to the point where like 150 students are saying, no, we don't want to be in our school system. And that's not what we want. We want them to be in it. And so we got to figure out a way to bridge that gap, whether it be through questionnaires, and figure out what those problems were and how to fix them, and be proactive. And that's something I would do, and I support 100%. It's convincing sometimes what other people want to do. And so if I want to do that, and let's say this was your elected school board right here, and somebody says, Donnie, do you want to go do questionnaires, try to figure out why the 150 students aren't in your school? And I'd be like, yes. Well, then we can go to James over here, he's on the school board running for office if it was elected, and he can say, no, I don't want to do that. I want them to stay home so we can lose $1 million. Well, then guess what? You know who you can vote for. And that's why we need to have an elected school board, because right now those options aren't on the table, those discussions aren't on the table, and those improvements that we need aren't going to happen, and our school systems are going to suffer and fail year after year after year.
Greg?
I think I'm on the fence on this. I hadn't really thought about this question too much. This is really the first time that I got to appoint a couple of school board members, or at least one I know of, this past year. And we're going to have a new school board coming up in another year. I think it's another year. And I think that needs to be appointed. And then after that, the next ones after that could be elected. But I think the new one that's going to be coming up really needs to be looked at by the county and the city and people you're going to appoint to start this new school system. So that's where I'm at on
it. John?
Well, like an attorney, I can argue this both ways. Interestingly enough, I've actually had a couple people contact me already about this question before I even knew I was running for the board. There are advantages to having an elected school board, and apparently they're really profound, because out of 105 localities, divisions in Virginia, there's less than 10, I think now. The last I looked was a couple years old, that have appointed school boards. Elected school boards have the ability, the authority to levy funding, levy taxes for funding to support themselves. That's an issue, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. I can't see all ends at this point. But like I pointed out to somebody that contacted me about it, it's like, just because you have an elected school board, you still may not get the outcomes you want. Yes, you would have a little more say, perhaps. So I'm definitely open to the idea, but I would like to really get into the nuts and bolts and see all sides. We have some really great people on the school board right now. I go to church with one of them. I think the world of them. The default is, in a democracy, it's nice for everybody to have a say. So let's just go with that.
James?
I'm on the fence with it also, but I will go into a little more detail. We operate under Dillon's rules in the Commonwealth of Virginia. The Dillon's rules says you can have an elected school board. And to do that, elected officials cannot say, okay, this is an elected school board. It takes a referendum from the public. You can start it the day after this election, circulate petitions, they have affidavits, and it would have to be with the county and the city because they would be at large. And then you would have to figure out the tax structure to go along with it. Then it has to be approved by the General Assembly. So that's what it takes to get us elected school board. It's not that it can be put into the agreement, as Mr. Kearns explained. I served on that committee, and that was explored. And you have to go, it's a process that you have to go through. And if the people want it, I'd support it. But it takes the people to do it. We can't do it, city council can't do it, and a joint school board committee can't do it. It has to be done, and we operate on the village rules.
Thank you. Greg, this is a good question. This follows right along. Are you willing to amend the joint committee on school consolidation plan to allow for an elected school board?
Well, it's like Griff said, if the people want an elected school board, then I would go with that. I think the next year or two is going to be crucial for appointed school board. And then after that, once the new merger starts and everything goes, I think you can do elected school board. It's like Griff said, it takes a process. You just can't just do it one day. But I'm not sure.
Okay. John?
Yeah, like Mr. Griffith said, there's a process, and I believe it's about 25% of the registered voters have to sign a petition to get it started. I think that, and then it goes on referendum, and then it must be voted on, and then the government of Richmond would have to approve it. And I think once it gets to that point, I don't think that they get too much about it, obviously. But yes, I mean, again, and people want to know that. I mean, I had two people one night contact me out of the blue, I guess, because I'm a history teacher or something. And I could have told them to do what I did. I Googled it, to find out. I mean, I knew there was a process, but I said, well, this is what needs to happen. So talk to your friends. And again, that's how government should work, especially local government. It should be very grassroots. If you want something done, affect the change. Get out there and work for it. 25% of the voters doesn't amount to a huge number here locally, unfortunately, anymore. But I mean, it would take some time to gather the votes, and then we'd see. I mean, it's the fairest way possible. You put it to a vote, and the county can vote whether the majority of them want to pursue that.
Okay. James?
Well, you're talking about amending it. It can't be amended. We did go down that avenue, and like I said, it would have to be a referendum in the city and in the in Allegheny County because it's a merged school system, and we go through the process. But if that's what everybody wants, I'm supporting it. As far as amending it, it can't be amended.
Okay. Don?
Hey, so this is where I disagree with all three of these individuals. So, the conversations I've had with Senator Deeds, because I brought this up to his attention. I've got the emails, well, probably not now because I'm suspended, but, we had these discussions, and he said, because if you read the Virginia Code, when it talks about bringing out a proposal for a joint school system, it says create a proposal, and it says you can put anything you want in it. You take your proposal, you give it to the State Board of Education to approve, and then it goes to the General Assembly. If you read that code, there's no Dillon rule in it. It just says provide a proposal. And they provided a proposal. The only thing that was left out of it was the elected school board part. It was appointed instead of elected. Now all they had to do was propose it. Whether they say yes or no, that was up to them, okay? The other part of this conversation, so when I asked Deeds about it, he said the best way to find out whether or not it could have been proposed as an elected school board versus an appointed was to have the Attorney General have an official opinion on the statute itself to make that determination. That wasn't done either, but that was an option that could have been done. It's still an option today. As any government entity, a school board, a board of supervisors, or even the joint school committee, because it's a joint school committee, they can request that the Virginia Attorney General make an opinion on whether or not they could put in that proposal, whether it's elected or appointed. So I challenge them to do that. Let's put it in writing so we can figure out if that's an option. Because if it is an option, and if I get elected, that's what we need to be doing.
Okay, thank you. John, this one for you. How will you improve citizen access to the operations of the county?
Well, it's funny that I should get that question. I have a love-hate relationship with the treasurer's office over here. I love the people that work there. They're beautiful. They're great. But I hate trying to pay a bill. In my world, I'm spoiled. I pay credit cards, house payment, everything's online. I don't have to leave my house. And yes, I know there is a procedure that you can pay your county taxes and other things online, but it's cumbersome, it's confusing, and it's just inefficient. Now I know that probably what I'm suggesting would cost a little bit of money, but I think it's time that we're brought into the 21st century computer-wise and streamline it. I guarantee you that it will bring up revenue. Maybe not a lot, but it's something that we should address and it needs to be looked into. A few years ago when I talked to some people about it, they said, well, it's because our computer system just isn't modern enough to handle that. Well, we can find some money somewhere, I think, to modernize one office in the county. So that's something I think would be a real boon to help the people of this county. You know, especially when you think of the elderly, people don't even use their computer, but they got to drive all the way down here with the water bills and everything. And it would have been very nice during the pandemic when it was closed, you know, and you pretty much had to do it that way. I know there was some suspension of, but still people want to pay, they should be able to pay easily.
Okay. James?
Well, we've started working on a new computer system. I may get the amount wrong, but I think it was around 8 million, 3 million, somewhere in there. 10. So, and this being put online on service now, and it's going to be a couple of years before the whole process is flipped over into the system. So that's been addressed. We've had this conversation, and there's still some shortcomings in our system. The treasurer is a constitutional officer. That's a different department than the county staff operation. So public works it's separate government within the government. It's kind of complicated. We just need, once we get the new computer system, I think we'll be more citizen friendly. So I think we're headed down that road.
Okay, Don?
Hey, this was a great question because Mr. Persinger, I loved his topic. So he was talking about the treasurer's office. So I don't know if you guys remember, 10 years ago I ran for treasurer, right? So 10 years ago, I had to come here and pay a bill, and the only option at that time was me stroking a check. And I ran out of checks. And here I got my checkbook, and I ran out of checks, didn't know. So I had to drive all the way back home, and then come back. And at that point, I said, I'm running for treasurer, because we need to do better. Now, if you go in there and look now, it is so much better than it was 10 years ago. We've got point of sale, credit card transaction machines. You can do it online, and those were the issues that I campaigned on so hard 10 years ago. And within a year, Wanda Simpson, lovely lady, she won, but she, reaffirmed my commitment and made it happen. And I appreciate her so much for that. So this is why elected people are so important, because they bring ideas to the table to furnish and improve society for everyone. So now everyone that uses that transaction machine, I hope you think of me when you're swiping that card, because 10 years ago, had I not ran for treasurer, you'd still be bringing in today the checkbook, okay? And hopefully you wouldn't have ran out of checkbooks and had to drive home and come back. But one of the other things that I'm focused on right now as far as access is I believe like right there we have a camcorder. We need to have that every meeting, and we need to upload that video on the website so there's people like couldn't be here today, like who can have access to those meetings and say, go to the website, go to the county website, look, I'm going to go to Wednesday's meeting and check it out. Let them watch the whole hour thing if they want. So that way they have access to it. The technology's there, we're just not using it. You go to our school board website, we've got every document known to man on it. Here in the county, that doesn't exist. Go to the website.
All right, Greg?
Well, I wrote down what Greg was saying about it. We have a new computer system in the works, and the one that we had here was so outdated that we had to do something to upgrade our system here. But I would say that Jerry Clark, who's on vacation, is here at every meeting, tapes the meetings, and puts it on the Allegheny Journal. I don't know what it would take to put it on the county site, but you can watch every meeting on the Allegheny Journal. He's here just about every meeting except for tonight. He told me he was going to be gone for a couple of days. But
I'm videoing for Jerry.
yes. So you can watch this when, I don't know when it's going to be put on, but he's here just about every meeting taping this. And so that's one thing we're already doing. Keeping people informed.
Okay. James, what is your position of abstaining from votes?
What is my position? Abstaining from voting. When I have a conflict. If it's a conflict of interest, or I have, that would be, to me, that would be really the only time you could have to abstain from a vote. You could do an absent vote or a present vote. But you shouldn't abstain, I mean, because you're here to agree or disagree on a decision. But if you have a conflict of interest, you should abstain from it. You should remove yourself from it. So that would be my standard.
Okay. Don?
I love that question. I'm so glad you asked that, and I didn't even offer that question up. So, you know, the best way I can explain this is to actually give you a really good rundown and detailed example of one of the times I've abstained. And I abstain a lot, and I get a lot of issues with it, but here's one time, okay? So back in, I'm just saying, June, July, August, one of those months, we had this surprise agenda item. It was like, boom, here it is. It wasn't planned. I didn't get to see it before the meeting. It was one of those surprise agenda items. And it was basically, it said in there, I'm trying to brief this off my top of my head. I'm actually going to mail this issue to every single resident in my district because they need to really take note. But it said the school board and the board of supervisors had a leadership committee meeting to discuss the return of $500,000 to the board of supervisors. One, we don't have a leadership committee. It doesn't exist. Okay, leadership committee doesn't exist. All right, we only have two policy appointments to committees, and that's the budget and the board of governance. Okay, leadership committee didn't exist. That meeting that they went together to discuss the return of $500,000 from the school system back to the board of supervisors, it wasn't open to the public. That's a FOIA violation. So should I partake in acknowledging this agenda and voting on, yeah, we should do this or not do it? Well, I abstain because I don't want any part of it because it was completely illegal. Thank you.
Greg?
Abstaining from voting. I don't think you should abstain any vote unless it's personal that you, especially if you know the people or if you live very close to them or something that you're real good friends with or your neighbors or whatever. Abstaining, I don't like to do that, but it's just like we said earlier, you can vote yes or no on this board, and maybe you get outvoted, but still, the man sitting next to me, I'm still friends with him. But abstaining voting, I don't like to do that since I've been on this board. I think it ought to be, you're yes for it or no for it, no against it.
Okay. John?
The only time you should abstain from a vote in the committee is if you have a conflict of interest. Otherwise you owe your constituency a vote, a yes or no vote.
Okay. To the point. Thank you. All right, Donnie. What is your position on Allegheny County helping to pay a share for the recycling programs in Clifton, Fords, and Cubbies?
Well, I think the county, and this is, back to fiscal responsibility, we have to look at all sources of money that comes in and goes out. The last question involved the county wanting $500,000. It actually was up to $1 million, according to the superintendent in a personal conversation I had with him. So they were going to take up to $1 million from the school system. And I'll tell you, back just over the years, our school system is kind of like the Bank of Allegheny to the Board of Supervisors. Anytime they needed money, it's kind of like taking a debit card and like swiping it and saying, hey, give us our money back. And so I'm all about supporting every single function that is needed and necessary. However, at this point, based on the transparency issues, we're not doing things according to best practices that are prescribed by the Government Finance Officers Association, or even in a school board sense, the Virginia School Board Finance Manual. I mean, it's 32-page manual that says this is how you need to get your job done, okay? And we actually, our school board, we don't even have any order of rules of operation. You got Robert's Rules of Order of Operation. We don't have any. Our order of operation is past practice. So if we did something last year, technically we can keep doing it as long as we can refer to it. And so funding recycling and other programs in our government are very needed. We need to fund the sidewalks. I'm more concerned about the nice lady I met on the campaign trail who almost tripped over and face planted into the sidewalk because there's a 4-foot width of it. We need to fund the sidewalks and look forward.
Greg?
I would say yes to this if the money is there. If if the county can afford to help Clifton, Fords and Covington out. I don't know if we've discussed that very much, but if the money's there, if we have the money to do that, I think it would be a good thing to help out Clifton, Fords and Covington be part of that. Recycling is a big thing. It's coming back. And
John?
Just for clarification, are you saying this is currently the state of affairs?
I'm sorry?
This state of affairs exists currently? The county is currently paying to help?
No, they're not currently, as far as I know. Should they, I think, is the question.
Okay, that just wanted to be clear on that because a little different answer. I mean, you just have to hear all the details and see if it was beneficial to the county as well as to Clifton, Fords and Covington. I mean, there's no free lunch. I mean, recycling is a wonderful thing. I mean, it's something we should all aspire to. But I don't know that the citizens of Allegheny County should necessarily be paying to recycle waste in the city of Covington, as long as we're separate governmental entities. Now, having said that, if they presented the board with a rationale that made sense and benefited everybody, then sure, I'd be for that. But not just to give me.
James?
The agreement is in the works. It's in the process. and all the numbers are not in. And if the agreement can be reached, it probably will happen, but it's going to have to be on a feasibility study. And like I said, that process is being done. And all the numbers are not in, and it hasn't been presented to the boards at this time.
Okay. Greg, this is your question. Clifton Ford's Library serves a large portion of Allegheny County and is Allegheny County only public library. Do you think the county should contribute at least as much to the Clifton Ford's public library as it does to the Covington Regional Library?
I believe it should contribute something. I don't know if it should be the same amount, but I think it, like I said earlier, I think a lot of people on the western end of the county use Clifton Ford's library instead of the Covington because it's a little farther, drive. But it's I don't think we ought to be doing the same amount, but at least fund something, some kind of funding to the library. Yes.
Okay. John?
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to ask for clarification again.
Go ahead.
The question is, should we give the Covington Library as much as we give the Clifton Forge Library, or?
Vice versa. Should you give Clifton Forge as much as you give Covington?
Yes. Simply because one is in the county. Both because libraries are very important. But if they've already made the decision to fund the Covington Library at a certain level, then I think absolutely we should fund the library within our own geographic borders at the same level, if not higher. That's my answer.
James?
Well, it's one of them rules that is governed by the state. You have a regional library for every county. And our regional library designated by the state is the City of Covington Library. And so it gets more funding, and that's the reason why. It's part of that Dillon's rule that we operate under. We have to ask Big Brother for permission to do things. And that's kind of where we're at on that. It's a catch-22. We do provide some funding we fund both libraries. But we do fund Covington more. That's my answer.
Okay. Don?
I've never heard of Dillon's rule. Dillon sounds kind of suspect, but from an operational standpoint, so here's the thing, I love libraries, and I'll tell you what, the Clifton Forge Library is the biggest benefit to homeschool students, to be able to go down there and access internet and access resources. I've been in operations with nonprofit organizations. I would have to first, if they needed more money, I would look at participants. So if Clifton Forge has 1,000 participants and Covington has 1,000 participants, I would say yes, Clifton Forge needs equal funding in order to support the same amount of participants. Okay, you got to look at it like from a participant standpoint. You think regional in Covington, you think it's going to have a whole lot more people, maybe a whole lot more staff. So you got to look at it from a service standpoint. How many people are Covington serving? How many staff does Covington need to serve that amount, that population? Same thing with Clifton. And so that way you can come up with an appropriate formula to make sure each one is funded to provide services. And if that's not being done, that needs to get fixed like today. And they need to fix it. And so, they're getting $500,000 from the school system. Let's use some of that money and fix the library problem. And so that problem doesn't exist.
Okay. All right, John. How can the board more generously support our active art community?
Well, nobody likes to admit ignorance. I don't know how highly they support it currently, but I do know that the arts is very active in the Allegheny Highlands, and I would hope that they are supporting it. But I think I think we get way out of our weight class as far as art. Clifton Forge has got my youngest son was involved very much in the School of Art down there, and different programs that were available as a young child. And I think it's fantastic, because I think it's one of the best ways that you can instill a love of learning into a little kid, is by letting them have fun. And yes, I mean, I admit I don't know how much we invest in it right now. I'm sure there's some investment. It's an area that I think we should definitely keep an eye on, because it also enhances the attractiveness of our area to other people. I know if you come through Clifton Forge on a summer day, you have very many options to go and look at some locally produced art, and I think that is attractive to a lot of people.
Jane?
Well, we do support the system, and but it probably could be more. But it's a catch-22. We've got so many other issues that we've neglected for 30 years of economic development. We're trying to get back on track. You've got failing infrastructure. You've got a decreasing incline. Population has been going on since the 80s. We've been losing about 1% a year. It's been so subtle that it hadn't been paid attention to, and now it's at a critical point. So your flexibility in your funding is the main issue there. If we can land industry and create more jobs, then that will come with it. But that's a process that's going to have to be done. I wouldn't sit here and commit funding. I'll support it, but we have different priorities that we have to do to maintain a steady growth. We've got to reverse this trend.
Don?
Can you repeat that question? Sorry.
Yes. How can the board more generously support our active arts community?
Yeah, so again, it's literally, you got to put all the programs and services on the table and look at how they impact those communities and see how they're servicing. If Covington we're using the library, you know, if they go from 1,000 people they're serving to 500, obviously we need to restructure that library maybe to see what's going on, why are they serving less people, and let's move around. It's kind of like you're redistricting votes, you're redistricting services. So if we got more people being served over in Clifton, we need to put them more money over there. If we got more of Covington, we need to put it over there. So you got to look at all the programs and how they're servicing, but every single function that we have should be serviced, and especially if they have a contributing factor for our area as far as getting people here, like those that like the arts. I think the Historic Masonic Theater is a great asset to our community, and it could lead maybe people to come live here because they see an enjoyment out of it. And I used it as a kid growing up doing theater, and so I would hope they do more of that for kids. So if we need to fund those things, I think we need to look at what we're doing with our money and prioritize. You know, we need sidewalks fixed. Those sidewalks need to get fixed. I don't know if there's grants. I know there's grants out there that used to be out there or should be out there that you can go and get improvements for cities. Who's getting the grants? Is somebody not doing it? I mean, I don't mind asking somebody for some money. I mean, I did that all my life for nonprofit organizations. I don't mind saying no, having somebody say no. You just got to ask them. And so we just need to figure out where we're going to put the money. But I'm all for money and making sure it's dispersed correctly into programs that need it.
Greg?
The School of Arts in Clifton Forge, it's a good thing right now. It's about every time you look in there, there's always something going on. There's a good bit of cars in that building, or at the park there going in, people taking different classes and everything. But when Griff talks about this county, we need to turn things around with the infrastructure and economic development and stuff like that. Once we get that turned around and bringing more jobs in, then this other stuff will grow. We can, you know, fund more stuff, you know, more money to these items that we already fund some too. So that's one of the things we have to do, is just turn the system around here in the county first, and then and he's talking about sidewalks in Clifton Forge. There are some bad sidewalks in Clifton Forge, but that's not a county problem, that's town of Clifton Ford's problem. And I hate to say that, but it is. And somebody, you know, I've been at several meetings from the town recently trying to learn stuff, how the town of Clifton Fords works. But that's an issue for Clifton Fords that we need to bring up to the town of Clifton Fords. To, you know, your sidewalks are in bad shape right now. We need, you know, you need to do something.
Okay, thank you. James? How can the Board of Supervisors function more as a unified team?
Good question.
How can the Board of Supervisors function?
I said that's a good question. I heard
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't want to be reading it.
I think we function as a team now. Could we do better? Probably yes. But we've got a good board. Communicates. We redid the comp plan 3 years ago. We did it jointly with the city of Covington. Had some folks with Clifton Forge that was participating in it with the steering committee. I think that was a big move. We've got to continue following that plan and modifying it, and we get ready every 5 years. It's redone. Building, keeping our eye on the comp plan and our capital investments and the direction we're going for growth. And I think we're all in sync on that now. That's my answer.
Don?
So, I guess the question was, how do you get the board to work together? Communication is very critical, and there's always, sometimes you see the communication that's at the board meetings and the public meetings, but it's the communication that's extra and extremely important, that's behind the scenes that sometimes you don't see. And a good example of this, there was in February, I think it was the month, or maybe January, the parents wanted to return to sports so they can participate in sports and activities, and we had a board of 6, and so at that time we had a tied vote. What had happened was we also was doing Zoom, and there was like 50 parents that wanted to voice and express their opinions. They sent like 50 emails, okay, to the school board. I had 50 emails to look at and read, and we didn't. One of the things that really upset me as a board member is we didn't let them express their opinions in an open forum. We cut them off. We said, we're not going to let you talk about it. We're not going to let you read these letters out loud publicly. We're going to shut you out. You don't get to say anything. That was wrong. And I knew it was wrong, but that wasn't my fault. That was Jacob Wright's doing. Sherman County said, Jacob Wright said, we're going to not do this or do that. I can't remember exactly. But anyway, what I did next was I said to my peers on the board, and I said, we signed up for this, and they should have had the opportunity to tell us how they felt about the situation. And the next meeting we had, it was open, public, and we allowed them to voice their concerns. So the best way to communicate is you just got to be honest and open to the people you're working with.
Okay, Donnie, Greg?
Being the new one on the board right now, I think it's a good board. They've treated me well since I've been on here. Like I said earlier, you can call or text any of them during the week. If there's anything that's going on, you want to find out more about it, or what their opinions are, you can do that. Our county administrator, who's our intern right now, you can talk to him anytime during the week, on the weekend, or text him or send him a message, and he'll answer you back right then. And the only one on this board right now that I really knew was Cletus, and the rest of them, they're Steve Bennett and The rest of them are coming, getting to know them pretty good. And we're losing one this year that's coming off. But the one that's coming on in her place, and I know Dr. Goins, but it's a good board right now. And they've treated me well being the new one on.
John?
Elect me and I'll get back to you. I mean, honestly, it's what it is really one of those things until you get involved with the group, you don't know what the shortfalls. To all appearances, it is a very good board. I don't, they present a united front. Teamwork, that's always a tough thing. I think we have teamwork. I think that you have a group of men that know they have a serious job and they put their heads together and they try to figure it out. I agree with Mr. Kern. Communication is vital. I'm sorry, and ladies, pardon me. But yes, communication is very important. If you go into one of these meetings and there's something really bothering you, I think it'd probably be in everyone's best interest if you got it off your chest before you brought everybody in, and let it fester. I'm very strongly believe that don't let the sun go down your anger. Get it out there, express your viewpoint, your opinion, and still might not agree with you, but at least you got it off your chest. So I don't have a good answer, but I'd like to try.
Okay. Any other questions? Is that pretty much take care of it? Okay, I have a letter here that I'm going to read. It's from Dr. Goins. He couldn't be here, but he asked that we read this tonight. So I'm going to bring forth his information here, and then we'll go into the 3-minute closing for each candidate there. Okay? First, I would like to thank Allegheny Highlands Chamber of Commerce and Tourism for sponsoring the candidate forum. I am grateful for giving the citizens of our great community this opportunity to convene with the candidates, which will soon be representing them. I have always considered myself a positive and optimistic person with an eye toward growth and advancement. With that said, I feel it's important to start out by highlighting what I feel is the most alarming health matrix for Allegheny County, our declining population. Over the past 4 years, accounting for the incorporation of the town of Clifton Forge, our county has seen a decrease in population by 15%, with the largest drop being in the area of ages 18 to 65. For example, and they're the prime wage earners. While there are many confounding variables which must be addressed, some of the most prominent problems prevent us from maintaining the strong draw for community-born citizens to stay and for the people outside the community to move in. The cause of these problems are both large and small, and all need to be addressed. How do we strengthen the heart and mind of our community, our education system, and health care delivery? Everyone can say that what we need is more jobs. The true question is, what is keeping new business from coming here? How can we improve the size and skills of our workforce? How do we continue to revitalize the soul of our community with things to do after a hard day of work? How can we offer more activities on the weekends? How do we support our local businesses to stay open while incentivizing the new businesses to open up alongside? How can we increase tourism dollars that are spent here? How to expand housing developments? How do I now propose we face these problems moving forward? I would recommend one way of doing this is to lean on the most valuable tool of at our proposal, which are the citizens of our great community. I want to expand the number of people involved in government, to get new, energized people to serve on boards and committees, to get more people to attend board meetings and have them speak up, to bring progressive thinking people to the front. Albert Einstein once said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. My single most important goal, if I am to become our representative for the citizens of Eastern Clifton Forge and Cliftondale when it comes to the issues before the Board of Supervisors, will be to reverse this negative trend in our population. And I believe we achieve this through an innovative and fresh approach to the way we do government. I want to anticipate issues before they become problems. Thank you again for your time. I would appreciate your vote. I look forward to hearing from you all. With gratitude, Dr. Ronald S. Goins. Okay, now we'll start with 3 minutes. And since James had the last question, we'll start with Donnie. Donnie, you've got 3 minutes to go through and let us know why you're running and explain why somebody should vote for you.
Thanks. So, you know, we had a really good discussion, I think, tonight. And I want to first thank the individuals that signed my petition to be on the ballot this November. I went around over the summer, and it was great being able to walk out and talk to these individuals. There's about 200 I met, and had really great, meaningful conversations. And you know, one of the things that I do is try to remember those conversations and try to bring some of the ideas that they shared with me part of the campaign trail, right? And try to make those improvements and bring them to this position if elected, so I can make some of those improvements. And obviously, you know, there seems to be a lack of funding in different areas in our community that need some attention, and we have to address that. We have to address it. And there's all kinds of ways to do that. And I think I'm going to be a really great candidate to do that. I'm able to go through the financials in this county. I can tell you exactly whether or not Clifton Forge is getting the services it should get for the money that we're giving the county. You know, we do pay 2 taxes. If somebody in the county lives in the county, if they pay $300 for a personal property tax on a car, somebody in Clifton with the same car, we're paying $600. Is that fair or not? I don't know, but I can find out whether or not that $300 we're giving the county, we're getting it back in services. And that's a skill that very few individuals have. And that's one of the things I would definitely look at, because I want to make sure the people in Clifton Forge are getting what we're paying for. If we're paying 2 taxes, we ought to be getting double services maybe. But I think at bare minimum, the people of Clifton Forge should get their fair share of what we're putting into the service and make sure we're getting it back. And I'm capable of doing that. I have a master's degree in accounting. I've done accounting for a lot. I've worked in leadership positions through nonprofits. I know budgeting if I was blindfolded. So I bring that specific skill set to this position, and we'll be able to quickly ascertain whether or not Clifton Forge is getting what we're supposed to be getting. And if we're not getting that, we're going to get it. Because I don't mind conflict, you know, I don't mind saying, hey, we're doing this wrong and we need to fix it because it's not right for the people of the Clifton Forge West District. That's just the way I am. I'm all about fixing problems. The only way to fix it is you got to first start a conversation that a problem exists, and we're going to have an elected school board if I'm elected. Thank you.
Right.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out, for the Chamber of Commerce for putting this on. One of my positions, I support the economic development plan of the county, and I support other items that the Sheriff's Department and the deputies. Sheriff's Department gets a bad rap a lot of times about money-wise and crowding in the jails, and that's a big issue. I support the school merger. I think it's time that it came. You could tell, you know, in one school only graduates 50-some kids, and you got another high school graduates 100-some kids. There's, you know, and you're losing kids every year. You know, the population's dropping. So it was time for a school merger, and I know it's going to be hard, especially, you know, for the kids and especially for graduates of both schools. For Clifton Forge, you know, I'd like to see more money for the Masonic Theater. And I think the 2 taxes, that's a big issue. A lot of people, you know, you hear, that's all you hear complaining about is the 2 taxes, and that's something that needs to be looked at. But the only thing that'd be done about it is whether the town would give up her charter and go to the county. That's the only way you're going to get rid of the 2 taxes. But if anybody needs any help in the western, you know, side of the county for Clifton Forge, don't be afraid to call me. Selma area also is part of our district, parts of Selma. That's one thing that needs to be done. These districts need to be reorganized. You got 3 sheets of paper with addresses and streets that you can only go to certain block, you know, number of blocks. And Selma's really a hard area to try to figure out who you can talk to, because some of it belongs to the other, I think Steve Bennett's area. And so I think hopefully the state or local, I don't know who's in charge of that, but the district realignment would help out a whole lot for people running in the office.
Okay, thank you. Don?
Well, I'd like to thank the Chamber for setting this up. I think it's great. This is what participatory democracy looks like. And as a civics teacher, I'd love to give you all a quiz tomorrow. But well, the problems face Allegheny County. We have a shrinking population, and therefore we have a shrinking tax base. And it's not just the population, because as that shrinks, as the tax base shrinks, businesses go away. You don't need 2 of these or 2 of those. And that hurts the tax base too. The turnaround, we got to do jobs. The Economic Development Authority, wonderful. It's got to be hammered. That's what we got to do. It's got to be more jobs. Yeah, there's rental properties. It's incredible to me when I see all these empty houses all over Allegheny County and Covington. There's no any rentals. You can't rent a house hardly. That needs to be addressed. But the good news is we have a lot of assets. I-64. Allegheny County doesn't have I-64. Most counties in Virginia don't have an interstate corridor going through their locality with 3 exits. The main CSX rail line, that's crucial to heavy industry. It's not going to work if you don't have that. The vocational center in Dabney. I'm always amazed that people don't understand what a blessing it is to have a community college in our county. That is a great asset, especially for the most needy among us. I deal with it all the time. I don't teach a lot of kids that can afford Emory and Henry or Harvard or JMU or Tech, but they get into the community college and take a class. We live in a beautiful, beautiful place. There's all these outdoor opportunities. We have Lake Moomaw, Dalford, Jackson River Trail. All these things can be capitalized on. But it's all got to work together like the gears in a machine meshing together. But the motor has got to be jobs. We've got to get good paying jobs in this area. We've got to graduate people from the high school that have a set of pre-skills so they can go into the workplace and they don't have to be taught everything from square one. And I think we can do it. I think Allegheny County is a very resilient place. There's a lot of history here. But we do have to think outside the box. We might have to try some things different that we haven't tried before. And that's always scary. Change is scary. I hate change. But sometimes change is also necessary. Again, thank y'all for listening to me.
James?
I'd like to thank the Chamber and the Women's Club for putting this on tonight, and everyone for coming out. Also everyone who signed my petition for me to run. I've been blessed to be in this position. I've looked deaf in the eye twice and received 2 transplants, and every morning I get up, I thank God for giving me the opportunity to serve, and it's been a blessing. And with that, We continue working with the U.S. Forestry, trying to get ATV trails into our community where we can capitalize on that. I would like to continue that. I'd like to continue the growth and economic development, the school merger. Like you said, with the training, we've got Daniel Lancaster, we've got JRTC. So we've got all the tools. We just need to retool them to make it all mash. I think we can do it. We're headed in that direction. We separate our wants from our needs and start thinking as a community of the Highlands and not individuals. And we can do anything. We can move mountains. And I thank everyone. Wish that you would vote for me. And good night. And God bless everybody for coming out.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to thank everybody that showed up. It was a pleasure to see people come out. I wish it had been more, but the ones that are here, I think they will come away with a good understanding of what our candidates offer. I'd like to especially thank the candidates for spending their time. And I'd like to thank John. If you ever have to do timing, you don't realize what a pain it is. So I appreciate Jonathan doing that for us tonight. So with that being said, Teresa, anything else?
Please make sure you go out and vote, and thank you again for being here this evening. We appreciate you supporting this event. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Everybody be safe going home. It's dark now. Wonderful fall is here.
Thank you.
We're on the same page.
There's the rest of